The Galaxy S21 after 6 months. How does the phone hold up after half a year of regular use? What are the pros and cons, and should you consider buying it today? These are going to be the main questions of this week's video. Welcome to the S21 6-month review. Now, I have been fortunate enough to have held both the S20 and the S21 for a good chunk of time, respectively. I've been using the S21 for a bit longer than I did with the S20, but both experiences were great with my personal case. Though more specifically, I think my time with the S21 has been more satisfactory, but if you have experienced any issues with your S21 or S20 that are sort of a red flag or somewhat concerning, then let me know in the comments below. Oh no, Isaac, why don't you have an iPhone? Androids are for broke people. Dude, this phone was literally $800 when it was released. How is that for poor people? I mean, this isn't an A10e or a J3 Star.
Huh.
If you already didn't like Android, you probably won't like the S21 in the first place. I do think Android as a whole has some issues, but I think I find it to be more user-friendly and user-focused, as it just feels more like you're actually in control. You bought a phone you can actually control. On iOS, it's just kind of like a Disneyland prison, I guess, but it's not bad.
Open up the shortcut application. So
I'm not saying iPhone's bad, but I think I just prefer Android more for my personal day-to-day use in a smartphone. And more specifically, Samsung phones, their updates have been recently getting more in a sense of an iOS type aesthetic with blurry effects and translucent backgrounds. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I kind of like it, but at the same time, I feel like we're kind of going against what Android used to be about. But that's just aesthetic-wise. We're not talking about customization. But I think Samsung has dropped a few of its key features that make a Samsung phone, like no SD card slots, no expandable memory, and not to mention they did remove one of the key features of Samsung Pay that made Samsung Pay really reliable. To now at that point, you can't use Samsung Pay on older machines that may not have this technology ready for smartphone transactions. There's more videos on that topic, which I will link in the description below, but yeah, I'm going to be focusing on the longevity of the device, just considering because this is a review, I'm not going to be talking about the looks of it. Looks can be deceiving, guys, I will say that. But I'm going to be talking about the battery, the performance, and just considering that I have been using this phone as my daily driver for the past 7 months, and I have some things to say about it. First of all, how has the phone held up? Well, let's talk about battery life. I think battery life is the most important aspect people are looking for. If you do want a lot of battery life, I guess get an M31, M30, whatever it's called. Honestly, I think the battery is pretty average here. I mean, on a regular use of just scrolling through emails, watching TikTok, editing photos for my YouTube channel, and reading articles about Kanye West. By the way, where is Donda? I think the battery life has remained fairly conservative compared to the first time I used it right out of the box. Not to say that I don't think my personal phone would die out quicker, because I find myself to be charging it more constantly than probably what most people do. Like, I always have it on a charger. I have a wireless charger here, and I don't think constantly charging your phone is necessarily great for your battery. Not to mention wireless charging is inefficient compared to wired charging. But when I'm out and about, I usually have enough battery to last me for the day until I get home so I can charge it, and that's most of the time. At this point, I'm getting on average 7 to 9 hours of screen on time on average, which I think is generally good. Nothing like mind-blowing, but it's good. I mean, I think that's going to be satisfactory for more people. Since I'm now a PC gamer, I don't really do heavy gaming anymore on my phone, but if I am going to be doing heavy gaming, it's probably going to be closer to 5 hours, honestly, which I guess is somewhat fine, but if you are going to play a game on this phone, then bring a charger, please. I don't think my battery life has been compromised since I first got it out of the box, so battery life is generally okay, no complaints, no concerns, or big red flags here. On the flip side, the screen still looks great and not cracked, but I think I'm starting to notice a little bit of burn-in on the display itself. I experienced this on my Galaxy S8, and I am unfortunately starting to see some of it on this phone from time to time. And it's also on my brother's S9 already. I can't really see it unless you like try really hard to look at it. Like if I focus on it, then you can sort of see an outline on my home screen. But you know, it's slightly going away as I am watching videos in full screen now, and I am spending less time on my home screen. I mean, yeah, I just like to look at my setup, honestly. This happens on any OLED panel. OLED panels have been consistent of this type of problem, and you can see this even on iPhones, since Apple does buy units from Samsung. But to make it clear, not everybody will experience this, but it is something to note when you're buying a phone with an OLED panel like this S21. Just make sure not to spend too much time on one screen or one image or one page, so that when you have it on, your screen isn't just burning pixels just on that one specific image. Or if you're watching a YouTube video, make sure to always do full screen, because that will always help it longevity wise. But yeah, screen still looks great. Durability has been pretty fine, especially with the plastic back. I dropped my phone like 4 times these past 7 months, and I remember specifically because my philosophy with this phone was do not drop it, and I did drop it on tiled floor. But yo, it did not crack. There's no scratches, just like minor scuff marks on the sides, but nothing too major. I mean, it's yeah, durability is generally fine, but just don't, like, I don't know, drop it more than like 4 feet, I guess. But obviously, like, wear a case of your phone, okay? Like, I wear a case all the time. So battery life has been good. Screen has been great. Slowdowns, I haven't noticed any slowdowns, at least not as of late. I don't think I can recall a moment where I feel like, my phone is kind of slow right here. I didn't face too much lag. I feel like with any Android phone, there is always going to be a minor amount of lag, but that doesn't mean that it kills the experience of using an Android, honestly. But yeah, things have been snappy. Apps open quick. I can switch between them like really fast. And the phone is running on a flagship processor, so performance has been great. I've been able to do everything I wanted to do with this phone so far. Not that I haven't encountered anything that would make me dissatisfied. But yeah, generally speaking, it's a pretty good experience. Though when it comes to the S20, and I understand you might be skeptical to upgrade. Look, I had an S20 and I had it for about 4 months. And when it came down to the like specs of it, on paper the S20 is actually better than the S21. So switching may seem like a downgrade. You're getting less features technically, and you're getting 4 gigabytes less RAM. But when I switched, I honestly didn't see a big compromise in performance. Like, it did feel as snappy as my S20, and it didn't really feel like a burden on like the general experience and user satisfaction on the device from day-to-day use. It felt very similar, honestly. So if you're an S20 user still skeptical about upgrading to the S21, that's fine. I mean, you shouldn't be upgrading to the next phone anyways, because your phone is still pretty good specs and still relatively well enough where you don't need to upgrade, at least I hope so. I didn't find it to be like a downgrade in my personal case. And if you're talking about the build construction, yeah, I mean, plastic back, flat screen. Honestly, I love the flat screen. It feels a lot more modern than the curved edges on the S20. I don't know, I feel like curved edges are just kind of like a tacky thing at this point. I love flat stuff and squared off things, and I find the S21 to be aesthetically appealing. Not to mention the camera array looks a lot more sexy than whatever this generic black box was. But despite it being plastic on the back, you're gonna put a case on it anyway, so why does it matter? I would say the plastic isn't a downgrade, and if it does break in some way or some form and you need to like pop off the back, it's gonna be a lot easier to repair. Cameras. The most crucial part of Android's criticism. Honestly, I would say the camera quality is pretty damn good. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it that is like, oh yeah, this isn't so great. I mean, yeah, I'll have some shots that may not look as good or professional as some of my other best well-composed shots. The general depth of field, the composition, the contrast, and the sharpness, I think are a good balance when it comes to photos. I think this phone really nails it off. One thing I will note about this phone is that when I go to open the camera app, it lags. Like, it's pretty laggy. Like, this shouldn't be happening at this price level, right? Like, this has been my experience of the entire time I used this phone. When I open the camera app to take a photo at this exact moment, or whatever position I may be at, it's pretty laggy. It kind of ruins the shot. It's kind of bad to use, honestly. So that makes me heavily disappointed, and that's the only like main critique I have about this phone, at least so far. I think Samsung pushed an update where it got slightly better, but it's still not great. I mean, it's really impractical, Samsung. And I find the 30 times zoom to be pretty useful. I mean, the camera array and features are pretty much the same thing on the S20. I think night mode is a little bit better, or at least from the time when I did use night mode right out of the box compared to the S20, it was better. Though I'm pretty sure Samsung probably updated the camera, so it should be fairly the same now. But quality-wise, there's not like anything bad like right out of the gate with the photo quality, and the video quality is just fine. I wouldn't say it is shitty, but compared to iPhones, I think iPhones will always be the king of video. Just because I think they can handle colors better, at least from what I've seen with videos online, though I don't have an iPhone to test this, so I can't give a fair statement on this. The 8K on the phone is definitely just for like a flex. I feel like 8K only works well in specific situations, and when you do zoom in on a video with 8K resolution on, you can get some pretty good details from the zooming in portion, even if it's zoomed in. That's like the most redundant sentence I've ever said. And speaking of 8K and 30 times zoom, yeah, the iPhone 12 doesn't have 30 times zoom, which I have found to be pretty useful. I mean, sure, at 30 times it's kind of crappy, but because it can zoom into 30 times, the 10 times would probably look better than the iPhone's 12 times zoom. So that's kind of the only win I can say with this specific camera aspect, but I can't say the same thing for 8K. 8K feels like just that one weird feature that only gets added in just to be a flex, Oh, at least I can record in 8K. But it's not practical. So when I compare 4K footage to 8K footage, it does not look as great as 4K, honestly. Just stick to 4K 60 FPS. Just please cap it at that, guys, alright? Now, compared to the iPhone 12, which should be the direct competitor to the S21, I feel like spec-wise, you may feel like you're getting less, like you're not getting 8K or 30 times zoom, you're not getting the same amount of RAM. So on a technical level, you are getting more for your money when it comes to the Android device here I'm holding, though iOS is a very light operating system. Like Android is very heavy on resources and requires a lot more RAM than iOS does. So, even with its like low RAM, it's still pretty powerful given that it has a lot less than what you would get on this phone. And iPhones are notorious for its reliability and its smooth UI and its fluid experience and its consistent performance, unlike Samsung phones where generally it really kind of differs on region and generation of phones, basically. I mean, it is true to say that my phone does experience some glitches, like apps going over others and just weird stuff, other stuff, yucky. But it's not consistent enough where I have to say like, oh, I hate this phone, I can't use it at all, I don't think there is an overwhelming amount of concerns to say that this phone isn't recommendable to people. I think the S21 is definitely a very healthy choice in the Android world. I mean, Samsung hasn't been the best in the past, but nowadays, yeah, I can recommend Samsung products at this point. I would rate this phone maybe a 7.5 out of 10. If you have the S20, I don't think it's necessary to upgrade, so just save your money. Don't spend your pockets on unnecessary accessories and items. But if you are using an older iPhone or an iPhone that's just not very up to your expectations and you want to try an Android device, then I think an S21 would be a perfect starter phone for your introduction to this world. Maybe besides the upcoming Google Pixel 6, that looks pretty compelling right now, but we'll see about that. But as of the time I will release this video, hopefully you can still see this as a good option. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching a legitimate video and not a shit post about me screaming in your ears about watching anime at 3 a.m. So I thank you personally for watching this all the way through, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.